Why does it feel like we're broke or we've spent next to nothing for two windows? This ownership has done it before and might do it again. Money hungry.
Well, that's why they're the single problem within the club. The
I will
owners
say,
have been
yeah,
awful.
I will say this about this super chat. Although I actually I've done a video today that's on my personal channel, Terry Lewis TV. You can scan the QR code to go and subscribe right there now. I am actually quite. I like the way Berta operates, and I think it could do wonders for you. But respond, I can't speak properly. To respond to, I'm like my computer, I'm breaking. To respond to Tony's point here, the Cronkies have done this before, and I remember having this conversation with Igal. It was one of our very assertive conversations with each other, where I said that just because you're improving doesn't mean you should take the foot off your owner's necks. And he got very offended by it, if I remember correctly. So there was another Gooner on the show as well. I don't remember who else was also defending them. And I said, look, you're doing great. You spent money, you're improving. You've improved some of the wages of players. You're acting like a big club. But you can't take your foot off their neck because previously, and I know they weren't always your complete owners, but your club did have a habit of almost getting there, letting top players leave and you didn't keep going every summer buying better, more. You kind of slowed down a little bit. And that's what Arsenal can't afford to do. Because if you do only spend 100 million this summer, that's not good enough. When you look at what City have done, when you look at what Liverpool are doing, and Liverpool, we haven't even got onto it. Liverpool fans and the Liverpool press, it's just all these little stories about Isak coming out. Well, they still want him. They know it's going to be difficult. But I looked at the maths. It's difficult to get him away from Newcastle. Because they didn't spend last year, Liverpool. Even if they drop 150 million on him, I think it takes a total spend to say 340 this summer. You divide that over 2 summers, that's like 180 million over 2 years. That's not a massive amount of money.
Yeah, but all three of our clubs, yeah, obviously not yours, Terry. I'm talking about City.
I know.
All three of our clubs have the ability to spend. Yeah. Liverpool spent 10 million last year, City spent 20, and Arsenal spent 70. We're all in the Champions League. We all have players that we can let go. Yeah, and we got big players. So we got like Grealish, who's going to go 300 grand a week, KDB 400 grand a week. Liverpool will probably let a couple of go. Arsenal will probably let a couple of go. All our clubs have money to spend. All of us. You know what I mean? So when people are saying you can't spend 250, 300 million, it's waffle. It's absolute waffle. And Arsenal are at serious risk, of being left behind this summer. Now, there is still time left. Of course there is. But they didn't sign no one in January. And I would have expected Arsenal in the first 2 weeks of this window, to have got 2 players in, 3 players in. Bang, bang, bang. Yeah, because there's no excuses. There's no reason Arsenal couldn't have done that. None. Now, I think Zubimendi's done, personally. So that's one checked off the list. Yeah. But the other 2, the striker, the left winger, for me, they should have been done and dusted already. And I should be sat here on this panel going, Arsenal is serious. I'm sitting here thinking they might get left behind. There's no reason, there's absolutely no excuse for Arsenal not to have had the striker and the left winger sorted when they didn't sign anybody in January.
Well, look, if Liverpool do end up with Isak, I don't care what City do either. They're winning the league. With Salah staying at the club, with Wirtz coming in, 2 brand new fullbacks who are both brilliant, Van Dijk staying.
Well, why Arsenal rival Liverpool for this Isak signing? You might not get him, but why don't you ring up Newcastle and say, right, I'll tell you what, whatever Liverpool are offering, we'll pay 20 million pound more. Isak will pay another 50, 75, 100 grand a week more. We want you at our football club.
Facts.
What's going on here?
But I want Sesko over Isak because he's got more potential.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's just one of those deals.
If they get there, Mark, I've just looked at Googling it. I've just done a bit of search now, and there is a lot of reports about Liverpool and Isak.
It's opinion pieces. It's journalists with a little bit of connection. Just saying, he's the number 1 target. I just see Flex here on Football Flex. Big up you, bro. He's titled his video "Scary." I have to say, I really should have. It's just everyone says everything's scary these days. Like legit, it is a scary thought, but it's just I feel proud of myself for that word. Everyone's using it. I've got not by Flex, but I've got abuse for it for years. And I do notice a lot of YouTubers now doing very similar types of content to me after abusing me for 2 years of twerking for other clubs. And then now they're doing, Liverpool look amazing and City look great. Oh my God, they're doing a madness. I just sit there and think, can't beat them, join them, I suppose. Welcome to the club, people, of being objective. It feels very nice. But yeah, if they get him, City have done very well this summer. And I actually think Cherky, not even just pound for pound, I think Cherky's going to, both are going to be good. I think Cherky could end up being a better signing than Wirtz. But I just think with what Liverpool have got, if they get Isak as well, it's over. I just don't. I think they scored in all but one Premier League game last year. It's going to happen again. I mean, how are they not going to score in every game with a front line like that? I just don't see. And the way they play football, just don't get it to me.
You can see why Liverpool want to do that, though, because they know they've got 2 years left with Van Dijk and Salah. They're not going to go and buy another Van Dijk. They're not going to go and buy another Salah because they don't exist. So they know they've got 2 years left at the very top with two of the best players. That's why they need to now strike when the iron's hot. And Isak is doing that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, no, exactly. You strike. You're right. You strike when the iron is hot. But what you also do is you're never finding a replacement for Salah. I saw stats. His stats are in the Prem are all now better than Henry. Goals per minute, goals and assists per minute, the amount of goals, the amount of assists, similar amount of games played. So from an output perspective, you're talking about his outputs are better than the general consensus GOAT of the Premier League, one of the best attackers we've ever seen. You're not replacing him, especially with a right-sided winger. So also what Isak does, I think Isak comes in as 2 years with the man to be ready to take over his numbers. It will add to them now, but then eventually take over those numbers. Then it leaves Liverpool in a position where the new right-sided winger they bring in needs to be very good, but doesn't need to be Mo Salah, because by the time he comes in, Wirtz and Isak have taken the mantle as the star players. Because being that Salah replacement, like being the main man, the Salah replacement, if you still say Salah did leave this summer and they kept Darwin, they kept Jota, they kept Diaz, and then they went and bought Bowen, the pressure on Bowen to be the new Salah would be so high. This way round, by the time Salah leaves, I don't think that same pressure exists because others will have picked up the mantle. But I think you're also right, Potsy, and LB agreed too. They're just going for it now. They're saying, listen, we're there. We've won a league title. Because Liverpool haven't retained the league title for 40-odd years. It's a massive thing to retain one. And, you know, Arsenal haven't done it for a long time. City, of course, did during a couple of times in the Pep era. It's a different type of achievement. It's you can keep, I know you guys got a lot of points, but if someone said to me now, you can win the Premier League with 38 wins, no losses, or go back to back, I'm picking going back to back.
Well, you know what you're doing. You're entering your club into the best ever team Premier League era type thing. You know what I mean? But you can't do that. No one, respectfully, no one's going to look at Leicester and say that team was one of the best teams ever to be in the Premier League. Not because they were shit or anything, because they won it once, right?
Yeah.
When you start to do back-to-backs and three-peats, or even four-peats, you start to look at it and say, okay, you're entering into a debate about, is that the best team the Premier League's ever seen or England's ever seen? You can't really do that when you win one, innit?
No, I totally agree. And I think that as much as you can go invincible, you can get 100 points, you can break goals conceded records, all of that is great. And it all has a place in the legacy arguments. But having seen my club do it and players talk about it, listening to, in a more contemporary sense, the City players talk about how hard it is to maintain it and how they're in awe of Pep, how he kind of keeps the motivation going, keeps his energy up. They feed off that. That's what makes it more brilliant. So many teams win something. You see this with a lot of fighters. They win a world title. They might have an easy defense here and there, but you almost see this like bloated nature of, I've achieved my goal now. I can relax, and there's a little drop off. So retaining it's just a different level. And unless you've experienced your team do it, I will say this, unless you've experienced your team do it, you don't really understand what it feels like to do it back to back. It's one of those things. This here says, obviously me and LB, we know.